The period which is taken and called the Sesshin period, just before the full moon every month, is a very supportive process for those who are wanting in a playful, intense, deeper way to connect to themselves, to connect to the reality, and to allow the inner clarification. The real step which a human being has to take is learning to see life, the reality, the way it actually is. To experience the reality without unconsciously, automatically getting trapped in the projections through the conditioned mind, through the past, through the values and concepts which we collect as we grow up. All the other steps which the human beings need in life in a way becomes realized when you start seeing and experiencing the reality directly. It is still that point that all the other orientations are valuable. But when someone has come to directly experience and understand the reality, then all that what is valuable begins to manifest like a byproduct. Nobody need to tell this person not to carry, not to hold to, not to settle in any of the dark and shadow states, not to give energy to the anger or bitterness or cynicism or destructive processes, and so on. Not to indulge in sadness, bitterness, pain and hurt feelings. On the contrary, spontaneously, through the insight, through the understanding, arises a sympathetic connection to every fellow human being, every other beings. Not only to human beings, but to all beings. Love is not something which you have to try to practice. Love starts manifesting through you spontaneously. Because when there is clarity, you will also realize that there is no other way to connect than through the basis of love. There is no other way to connect to anyone except through compassion and sympathy. That is a state of clarity where you are not trapped in an illusory idea of a separate I, and you recognize that you are in the body, but you are not just this body. You have this personality which is part of a requirement in the dualistic process of life, but you are not that. So, as your clarity deepens and you see and experience yourself, all the other valuable aspects come like a byproduct in itself, in your life, in the way you live, the way you look, the way you connect. That is why those who have been insightful has been reminding, wake up, awaken to the reality. learn to see, orient to the truth. Or to put it more in positive terms, awaken to your divinity. Awaken to that wonder and beauty, that playfulness and celebration, that underlying care and intelligence which is in every detail of the life process. But these are things which happen when we allow it. The normal way of going, we are so preoccupied with our conditioned way of looking. We are preoccupied with our roles, our goals, our judgments, our pride, our prejudices, our image, that we remain in a certain state of intoxication, trapped in an idea of reality which is not the reality. So you can say, in the modern terms, trapped in a virtual reality. And virtual reality is where in the computer, for example, you can create certain concepts and orientations, and many people can play with it, and it starts having its own reality in a certain relative sense. But yet, it is not the reality. And this is what a human being needs to realize. That is why one has in different ways, ongoingly, to take the initiative to bring more and more intensity, more and more depth in the way you inquire, the way you confront that what really is. Because without your ongoing initiative, there is something going on ongoingly, that is, the inner automatism is pulling your life energy into the habitual settlements, the habitual way of looking, habitual way of projecting, habitual concepts. So what happens is that when you are not taking the initiative, things starts getting settled. Concepts and beliefs get more concretized. That is why it is to be observed that as people get older, and if they are not ongoingly bringing awareness in their life, they get too much preoccupied with the body, with the periphery, and their fear becomes stronger. They are clinging more to the so-called security and struggle and get easily lost. That can change only when there is some deepening of awareness or some trust in that what is beyond the visible. To trust the life, to trust the divine, is not something which you can tell anybody and they can do it. Either you have come to experience something and have developed a certain quality of understanding and trust, or you have to bring more and more wakefulness and attention so that indirectly also this quality of trust in the life and trust in the divine, trust in the Creator can happen. That is why that what can be shared, that what can be worked with, is to bring awareness, to bring wakefulness, to bring in a quality of presence in your life. So this is the background of the Sesshin reminders. And I'm taking some time today for that, because It's not enough that you are doing some things like a ritual. You have to understand that it has to be gone in so that it becomes really a help to bring a deepening of the inner wakefulness in your life process. Now, the two reminders for this time. One thing is that we have the tendency to react, and the reactions arise in us. So, you have to playfully bring awareness in these processes, because this is one of the very delicate but also deep possibility to look behind and beyond the obvious. And in our time, people are using phones, most often cell phones. So we will have a playful way of using the cell phone in such a way that each time you are making a call or receiving a call, while you are conversing, while you are being with the things which are in this interaction taking place, go on, bring the attention to what is undercurrently going on in you. And this time you are not to just leave it only at looking at it a little bit and leaving it. After the conversation, make a short observation of what all was taking place in you and write it down. Write it down in such a way so that you can review it in the end of the day, you can review it in the end of the week, and you can also review what way things are working after a certain period. So this writing down can be in a paper, but you can also make it as a note in your cell phone, because there are nowadays possibilities to note all these things. So depending on what way you want to work with it. So this is one reminder which can be playful but also very valuable, because in the period of the day you come across many calls, and at least 7 times from these calls, as much as you can do more, but at least in 7 of the calls, take time after the call also to note down what you have been seeing, what you have been observing. And remember, it is not an effort to put yourself in a box. It is not to say I am bad or I am good or I am ugly or I am beautiful or I am guilty or I am right. But all these kind of judgments, all these things which are coming up, bring attention to it so that you notice it without identifying with it. And noting down telegraphically in a way so that you can understand and read it afterwards. So don't make it so telegraphic that you don't understand anything of it. Write sentences. Only that you don't need to make any big explanations of anything. Just note down what has been going on in a brief way. You can review it in the end of the day. You can review it in the end of the week and also later on. So keep it for some period. This is the first reminder. And the second reminder is what you do every day. And these are reminders which in some traditions they are doing it as a ritual. but don't make it just a ritual. Bring attention to it and feel it and put that into practice. That is, before you eat, before you drink anything, keep some moments with an inward alertness. If possible, close your eyes and consider that what we drink, that what we eat, is not to be taken for granted. It is there because life has made it possible. The Creator has considered that, made preparations in very elaborate and very careful way so that we have all these possibilities in terms of material which we get from outside, and in terms of our body being able to work with it, to assimilate it and to absorb it, transform it into energy. When you are drinking even water, just see that how it is there, how much care is made, how the cycle of water is made possible so that we can get still water to drink and to live, and what all we make from the water, what all combinations and tastes, and in all those ingredients when you look, whether it is herbals, whether it is smoothies, whether it is a combination with fruits, or when you are eating something, all the grains, all the fruits, all the vegetables, and all that what you eat. Consider from where it comes, what is the background of it. It will also help you to understand and be more careful with your body. It will also help you to consider what is going on in the reality. Ecology is possible to be realized in a healthy way when we bring attention to all these factors of our life. For example, when you realize that just to have a certain amount of grain, how much work is happening behind it, how many people, what all things nature has made. Or just recently I was coming across an information, it is not directly with eating, but very interesting to consider. Somebody was asking this question who has been in a information test. How many liters of water are required in producing a t-shirt which you wear? And everybody said 50 liters, 500 liters. But the person who has studied the whole background said some 30,000 liters are required, something like that, even maybe more, I'm not remembering it exactly, but a very high amount of water was required in the calculative process of it, in seeing it in that way. So when we consider things more carefully, it is just like when we take the honey. They have been observing that just to have a spoon of honey or a glass of honey, how much distance the bee is traveling in average. You don't need to go into all these technical details and all, but just bringing all these aspects into consideration make us a little bit more humble, make us a little bit more open, not to take everything for granted. So this taking everything for granted and going automatically can be interfered through consciousness. And this will come in every other area of your life also. For example, now there's a big problem about plastic microparticles of plastic in ocean, in the food, in the animals which are living there, in the fishes. But unless we consider it and bring more attention in individual level, the real changes which are valuable cannot take place. So what you are doing is not just some individual egocentric way of going about life to make it a little bit better for you. It is an interconnected process. When you are careful, this will support yourself and also indirectly support everybody else and the whole development in the world too.